Hey, lovely people. The incident I'm about to share happened in Lahore about 3 to 4 months ago during the summer. Originally, I'm from Bahawalpur, where I was studying chartered accountancy. The thing is, while there are CA colleges in Bahawalpur, if someone wants to pursue CA here, they usually have to leave the city. For me, Lahore was the closest and most suitable option. This was my first time visiting Lahore after becoming fully aware of things. So we stayed at a certain place. I'll describe it clearly but won't disclose the exact name or the people involved. Just know that it's located in Barkat Market within Garden Town, and it's situated above a restaurant. To give you an idea, the hostel is above this restaurant, which is very close to the National Bank. Now let me explain the layout of the area. Essentially, there are 3 floors. The restaurant occupies the first floor, and on the second floor, where the restaurant is also located, there's a lobby with rooms on both the left and right sides. There are 6 rooms on each side, totaling 12 rooms. Each room has an attached bathroom and basic furnishings like mattresses. Out of these 12 rooms, 3 seemed unusual or strange to us, and later we noticed a 4th one as well. The strangeness began to reveal itself gradually, about 2 or 3 days after I arrived. My father was with me initially, but he left, leaving me alone until a roommate joined later. I observed that among the 3 rooms above ours, 2 had carpets. The room I stayed in, room A on the first floor, had a tiled floor, as did the others, but some had carpets laid over them. Every morning, I noticed a lot of hair scattered on the floor. Since I have long hair, I assumed it was mine, thinking my hair must be shedding or breaking frequently. However, one day, I saw a large amount of hair gathered in the corners, which made me question whether it could really be mine. If that much hair had fallen from me, I would have surely noticed, and the hair was appearing in places where it didn't make sense for it to be mine. Curious, I picked up a few strands and compared them to my own hair. While not every hair has to be identical, the length difference was so significant that it seemed like a woman's hair, much longer than mine. I mentioned this to my roommate, who also had long hair but not that long, so we dismissed it, thinking maybe we were overanalyzing. Later, we brought it up to the occupants of room A2, next to ours, who initially brushed it off, saying it was probably our hair. But when we pointed out the mismatch in length, they suggested that since the hostel was previously a girls' hostel, the hair might belong to the former residents. They reasoned that due to poor cleaning, since we were all boys now, the old hair had accumulated. I agreed it was plausible, so we decided to thoroughly inspect those 3 rooms. We cleaned the room thoroughly, removing any small cobwebs, dust, and dirt, making sure it was spotless in every way. Yet the next night, when we woke up, we saw the hair again, still there. We were shocked, wondering how the hair could reappear. So we went back to the same roommate and asked him about it. He suggested that the hair might have been stuck in the fan and fell when it was running. His explanation seemed odd to me. How could hair get stuck in the fan, and why would it just fall like that? I pointed out that we had cleaned the fan, so the hair shouldn't have been there. Still, we couldn't figure it out and eventually started ignoring it, even though the hair kept appearing. This was the first incident that made things feel strange. The second strange thing involved a boy. I won't name him, but the story centers around him. Up until then, I hadn't heard anything about him, nor did I know much since it was my first time there. The 3rd floor had a large courtyard with an open, unfinished room, no door, and another room that was always locked. In the middle was a courtyard where we had strung up wires to dry clothes. People also went up there to smoke or make calls. One day while I was on a call, I noticed something unusual. It was summer, and the sunlight was intense, almost palpable. Amidst scattered construction materials, I saw a boy sitting on a brick, wearing a thick dhoti in the blazing sun. Most men prefer darker colors, not judging anyone's taste, but his dhoti was very girly, bright pink, red, yellow, blue, etc. I found it odd but didn't think much of it. As I turned after my call, I noticed he was watching something on his phone. I have a habit of glancing at what people are doing, so I looked. He was watching Real Entertainment while wearing a pink hoodie in the scorching afternoon sun. I thought maybe it was a one-time thing, But over time, I saw him repeatedly sitting there in the same hoodie, watching Doraemon in the sunlight. This behavior struck me as very strange. Now, about the 3 rooms I mentioned earlier, A1, repeated, and A2. They had peculiarities unlike the others. One odd feature was that their attached bathrooms had Western commodes instead of Indian toilets. These toilets didn't have any mechanical fault that would make them flush automatically, yet whenever we were outside relaxing, we'd hear them flushing on their own. And this only happened in these 3 rooms. Since I stayed in all 3 at different times, I witnessed it in each. I checked other rooms but never saw it happen. When I asked other roommates, they said it happened to them too, but they assumed it was some shared plumbing issue, so nobody took it seriously. Later, when I sat alone in the room, I began feeling as though I couldn't see anything around me. Yet it felt like 12 people were standing around watching me. It made me uncomfortable, almost as if I was being compressed, like the room was overcrowded, leaving me suffocated even when I was alone. Another weird thing was the water situation. We paid for clean filtered water, the hostel covered the cost, and the tanks were always full. Despite this, the water from the 3-level filtration system at the filling spot, the water went through filtration, and from there, what's your name? Our water would reach us, so it was rare for it to be bad. Yet that water was so contaminated that after just 1 or 2 days of drinking it, 3 of us boys suffered severe diarrhea. I couldn't understand how simply drinking water caused this. It looked absolutely clean, had no smell, tasted fine, and was supposedly mineral water. Still, we couldn't figure out why we suddenly got so sick. Things got really bad. Our roommates, who had experienced this before, warned us not to drink the hostel's water. They said that no matter how much you filtered it, the water here was somehow extremely dirty. People who drank it in the past had suffered acute diarrhea, some so severely that they were hospitalized and had to return home. So, what did we do? There was a water pump or filtration plant nearby, so we started filling cans from there and storing them in our room to drink. The whole atmosphere there was just strange. Then one day, that boy, for some reason, suddenly came to our room. I found him odd but didn't suspect anything serious at first. I shook hands with him, and when I pulled my hand back, my cousin, who was with me, started talking to him and stepped outside. I might have taken pictures. Friends, if I still have them, I'll mail them to you. On my hand, along the line where the mark appears, there was a deep red mark that hurt badly. I showed it to my roommate, who checked it, and later I pointed it out to my cousin too. Half an hour after shaking hands, the pain was unbearable. It wasn't just discomfort, it was excruciating. I couldn't understand how a handshake could leave such a vivid red mark. Later, that boy returned to our room with my cousin, and the warden came too. The warden said, "This boy is staying with you now." Our room was a 4-seater, but only 2 of us lived there, me and my roommate. The warden explained that the boy was moving in because where I was staying before, they make me clean up their mess, so I'm shifting here. We couldn't outright refuse, but we didn't want a third person disrupting our dynamic. Hostile groups form bonds, and we weren't keen on adjusting. Once they left, we came up with a plan. We decided to scare him away by playing recorded horror stories. Just as we were discussing this, our roommates burst in asking, "What's that boy's name? Who just came to your room?" We didn't know his name, but they showed us a picture, and we confirmed it was him. "He's shifting here?" they asked in alarm. We nodded, and they immediately said, "Don't worry, we won't let him." Smiling, we told them about our horror tape plan, but instead of laughing, they grew more serious. They called in 2 more boys, locked the room from inside, and sat us down. "Don't let that boy into your room," they warned. When we asked why, they said, "He's possessed." Their words stunned me. I thought they were joking at first. "No way," I said. "He's just a little odd. Wears bright colors, watches Doraemon." But they cut me off, explaining that he'd failed his CA exams 3 times, which, to be fair, is common in such a tough field. However, he kept failing the first module, the easiest one, and had been in the hostel for a year and a half, disappearing and reappearing randomly. Then they told us about his time in room A2, not A1, sorry. When he stayed there, the boys started feeling a strange presence, like the room was crowded with unseen people, full of tension. Even though our roommates were older, around 30-32, and usually dismissive of ghost stories, they got scared too. They explained that this boy had non-medical seizures, very unnatural ones. During an episode, he'd clench both fists, press them against his chest, and convulse violently, but instead of just jerking, he'd tighten his grip, punching himself inward with terrifying force.